gentlemen, for your interest. My name is Paul Cowley, President and CEO of First Vanadium. And First Vanadium is focused on vanadium in Nevada. Great jurisdiction to be in. And we are focused on our Carlin Vanadium deposit, or project, which is North America's largest, highest grade primary vanadium resource as of 3 days ago. The company has so many very positive attributes, and so does the project. And before I launch into those highlights, I really should give a little bit of fundamentals of vanadium, because not everyone will know about that element. So I will be making some forward-looking statements, but principally, vanadium is an alloy that strengthens steel. In our current life, lifestyles, we really need this metal, because with 2 pounds of vanadium in a ton of steel, it doubles the strength of steel. So this is an infrastructural metal that's very, very important for things like rebar, for building bridges and skyscrapers, pipelines, because it's corrosion resistant, aircraft and car chassis to make them lighter and safer. So this is an alloy that makes things safer, lighter weight, more fuel efficient. And for our lifestyles going forward, this is very, very critical and important. We also want to note that vanadium is shifting a little bit more interest into the battery sector, because it is a very, very important and great solution on large-scale electric storage through the vanadium redox flow battery. People are starting to hear about this. There's commercialization of these batteries over the last 2 years, and even though right now it's only about 5% of the consumption of vanadium these days, that is obviously going to grow, because China is taking a big lead on these kind of projects. They're building them out, and this is just a thing of the future, and it's just an inevitability. I'm going to talk a little bit about supply and demand here. Just a very simple premises here. Vanadium has the demand for vanadium has outstripped supply for 3 or 4 years, and so this is a chart over the last 2 years of vanadium metal price increase, and actually it was quoted as 2018's best performing metal, and you can see. Sure I got that, yeah. So you do have some blips, but there's pretty much a steady increase here. This was a kind of an emotional up and down peak that was around a very, very important Chinese legislation that came in effect November 1st that requires Chinese rebar manufacturers to put 30% more vanadium in the rebar, because they were putting inferior steel into construction, into houses and bridges. And some earthquakes happened that 80,000 people died. Quite an embarrassment for the Chinese government. So they're taking a hard line on safety, as well as environment too. All of those things are having an impact on the vanadium price. And even though this is a bit of a scary thing to see it go up and down so fast, what you're going to see here in the last month and a half, we're seeing it's finally stabilized. That emotion has gone away. It's all responding on demand and supply, which is still outstripping the demand is still outstripping the supply. So we've actually seen a month and a half of steady, slow increase, and that's what everyone would like to see. So we're up at it bottomed at $15 a pound pentoxide, vanadium pentoxide. Now it's $17.60 a pound. So it's still a very, very healthy number. And we see in 2019 to continue to improve. We don't want to see it go too fast, because we want to see stability. And just a steady rise would be just perfect. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Shifting to the company now, a lot, as Gwen had alluded to, some of the points that she's looking for in companies. I didn't know that she was going to say that, but these are points that we have. The 4 principles that we operate on, and they're very strong fundamentals in First Vanadium, is the good share structure, good team, excellent project, and good timing. And just to allude to some of those attributes, we've got 39 million shares listed right now on 3 exchanges. We have $1.6 million in the treasury with another 7 million warrants that are all in the money that can bring another $2.5 million into our treasury. They're about another year old. And then oops, I'm sorry. How do you go back? On the people, this is a company that's industry and technically driven and supported. We have senior people that have technical people, professional engineers, professional geologists that have worked for major mining companies successfully, and now are working with us. We have over 400 years of industry experience in this very small junior company, right from exploration, discovery, construction of mines, operating mines, both from the mining side and the mineral processing side. So it's really a unique situation in our company, and it's not costing us an arm and a leg. The rest of the project, or the rest of the talk, is going to be about the vanadium project, which I think is an outstanding one, and we're making great headways on that. The location and infrastructure, outstanding. Really, we're in Nevada. We're halfway between Reno and Salt Lake City. We're actually in the Carlin, the world famous Carlin gold trend, and we're 6 miles south of the town of Carlin. That's a major rail hub. It's a major highway, I-80, power. All the mining communities in there are steeped in mining. Newmont has a mine that's 5 miles away from us. So all of this is a tremendous advantage for a project going forward. The attributes of the project are outstanding as well, and these are some of the simple points. And I just have to be brief because we have a short talk here. But this has been systematically drilled out. It's a large deposit, and in my view, it could probably double from where we are right now. We announced this maiden resource only 3 days ago, and the market's really liked what we've seen. We've went up 15% on Friday. The project has high vanadium grades, and what I'll go through some of those grades. They may not mean that much. I'm going to try to give you some other context about that. But thick zones at very high grades. Another great feature is that it's relatively flat lying, shallow dipping, but near surface. So in a broad valley, this is an excellent situation for an open pit mine application. It's going to be, the average stripping ratio is estimated to be 2.6 to 1. The rocks, a lot of it is already broken. It's in the black shale unit, so it's a very soft rock. So blasting is going to be very light. Crushing and grinding is going to be very, very inexpensive. And our preliminary metallurgy is showing that we can get it up to 95% of the vanadium extracted out of the rock into solution. That's an area we're still working on, and we'll make some successes there. A little bit on, this is a very, very simple geology. It's layer cake geology. This is a bed of higher grade vanadium in black shale, in a black shale sedimentary sequence. So you can see me standing beside the unit here, right at surface. Across the valley on the other side, you can see this dark unit. That's part of the zone and at depth. And then these two pictures are right here and right here. This broad valley here is where the deposit lies underneath. And it's quite large. You can see this is about almost 2 kilometers long in the axis of the valley, about 600 meters wide this way, and about 35 meters vertically, just below surface. There was a historic resource on this that from the 1960s data that was drilled at 28 million tons of 0.5%. We've improved on that, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. We've had this project for only 15 months. We were able to get permitting. We've done 2 drilling campaigns, infill and expansion, and we've got some great numbers as a result. We added 89 holes in these 2 campaigns. These are some of the highlighted intercepts. Most of these are right from surface, 45 meters, 1.5% vanadium. This is not going to mean anything to you, but if I convert it to gold that a lot of people will have in mind, this would be the equivalent of 12 grams of gold from surface, 45 meters of 12 grams of gold from surface. So these are really significant numbers and values here. Now there's 216 holes in this deposit. You can see the density of the drilling here is outstanding, and that's why we've been able to move the project to this maiden resource, which has moved all of that inferred into 80% of it into the indicated. We've increased the tonnage by 15%, we've increased the grade by 20%, and we increased the metal content by another 30%. By spending about $1 million US, we added $1.5 billion of metal in the ground. So this is a good project with lots of value. Converting this to a gold equivalent situation, I know this is not gold, but a lot of people have that context. The indicated would be the equivalent of a 4 million ounce gold deposit at 5 grams of gold. And the inferred would be the equivalent of 1 million ounces of gold at 4 grams of gold. The timeline just showed the 15 months that we've had the project. We're here, and what's coming up, we have about 3 more months of metallurgy, and then move towards an economic study, which will fill out the rest of our year. So we're really excited about this year coming up. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak to you guys. Thanks very much.